And welcome, Belief Hero family. Here we are in week 6, and tonight we have some awesome stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking about perfectionism. And man, we got some fun stuff to go over tonight. We got a lot of fun stuff. But before I dive into that, I just want to say thanks for the support. I'd love to be able to meet everybody that subscribed. I'd love to be able to hear people in the chat. I'd love to be able to hear from you. And that day is coming. But until then, just know I appreciate the support. It has been awesome this week. Man, I just really sharing my own personal journey with perfectionism. It has been a longer process than I expected. It really hit me. The perfectionist side hit me probably week 2. I was down here. I set some really high goals. It's like midnight, and I'm devastated. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I here? Why did I decide to do so much? And I'm like, dude, why does it always have to be perfect with you? Why does it always have to be perfect? And I'm going, it doesn't have to be perfect. And you're like, but it does. You're upset that it's not perfect. And I'm like, yeah. And I was just kind of like half joking with myself, like, if you weren't such a perfectionist, this wouldn't be such a big deal. And it just really kicked off in my head, like, what is perfectionism? And am I a perfectionist? And what is that? What is the impact of that? So I don't know if you're coming here tonight and you were looking for perfectionism or overcoming perfectionism. Maybe you're looking for ways to get rid of anxiety in your life. Maybe you have a lot of anxiety. Perfectionism drives a lot of anxiety in our lives. Discontentment comes from perfectionism. A lot of things come from perfectionism that have negative as they progress in life, they have a negative impact. So maybe that's what you're here. Maybe you found this video looking for that. We've got some great content tonight around that, defining what perfectionism is versus a high achieving personality, how we kind of let that get out of control and turn into perfectionism. So maybe you can decipher between those two a fine balance, which is really the purpose of what the Belief Hero is about, is to get together and have longer conversations and digest both sides of the coin to any topic. So perfectionism, we're going to talk about the good side, the side that leads up to perfectionism, the high performance side, but then we're also going to talk about the negative side of the coin. When it becomes an alter ego, it becomes expectation, it becomes externally toxic, internally toxic. So we're going to talk about both of those. So with that, let me switch and let's get into our clinical definitions, if you would, of our two topics. Perfectionism. Let's conquer perfectionism. Let's define it first and then decide where we're at on the scale of how perfectionist are we and what we can do to start to curtail those bad habits and put, as we said in all the shorts this week, one thing, put joy back into our lives. So if you're joining us live and you get a chance to chat or you want to say something, speak up, I'll watch it and we'll talk about it. So if you have questions or something, feel free to ask. No sweat. So clinical, the difference between clinical perfectionism, because we have to start with that. We have to start with the definition. What is the difference between clinical perfectionism and being a high achiever? Because somebody that just has bad behavior but they want to clinicalize themselves as a perfectionist isn't a perfectionist, right? That's somebody that just wants an excuse for bad behavior. So the clinical, while both concepts relate to high standards of performance, they have distinct differences of characteristics. Clinical perfectionists, okay? A clinical perfectionism, if I'm going to start the live and I can't even talk, this is going to be a long hour. Just kidding. I'll be fine. Clinical perfectionism refers to a psychological trait or mindset that involves having extremely high and unrealistic standards of oneself. People with clinical perfectionism often feel driven to achieve flawlessness in every aspect of their life, and they tend to be overly critical of themselves when they fall short of these unattainable standards. Some key features of clinical perfectionism include, now I want to stop, because this was the biggest breakthrough. And if it's in the first 2 minutes of the video and you can get in and you can get out and get this, that's great. And I'm going to pull up my phone actually I'm going to bounce from the chat here, and I'm going to read to you the breakthrough I had because I don't know why I didn't put it in the script per se. But this is where I got. So you catch what the inferences are. People with clinical perfectionism are driven to achieve flawlessness in every aspect of lives. They tend to be overly critical of themselves. They fall short of their unattainable standards, some key features. So they're super, super hard on themselves. And what I realized as I was digesting my own perfectionist traits, the toxic side, I realized this. When you realize the level of selfishness it requires, that being perfectionism, you can be set free from perfectionism. And I just want to call out right now, a lot of information out there doesn't touch this, but I think it's a very, very important side of both coins. We're internally hard on stuff, but there is an external impact on those around us. So let's keep going, and we're going to come back to that, the external, in a little bit. So here are some perfectionist traits. Fear of failure. Individuals with clinical perfectionism often have intense fear of making mistakes or failing, which can lead to anxiety, avoidance behaviors. Do you have any of those? I do. When I get like super, super anxious, I get overwhelmed. Suddenly I just avoid everyone in every situation. That's when you don't answer your phone for like 3 days. Okay, if you're in this boat, you know what I'm talking about. Self-criticism. They're perfectionists, are highly self-critical, and may experience a great deal of distress when they perceive that they have not met their own high standards. So we are in the clinical terminology. These are like meltdowns. This self-criticism leads to a complete meltdown because the standards are so high. Procrastination. Paradoxically, clinical perfectionists might procrastinate on task because they are afraid of not completing them perfectly. And we said that perfectionists will set this standard for what they see as the end product. They can envision an end product, but it's so high, they're terrified. That goes back into the fear, then the self-criticism. So you can see how we're building a cycle of, you can see step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, etc., right? The negative impact on well-being. So this is your fourth impact. Clinical perfectionism, can lead to feelings of inadequacy, stress, anxiety, even depression. It can also hinder personal relationships and overall life satisfaction. That's why we're here. High achievers, on the other hand, so that's a clinical perfectionist, and you can see there are negative outcomes that play out over time from perfectionist traits. So what's a high achiever? Because I know, like for me personally, I would like to do my best. In fact, I coach my kids. We do our best. We do our best. We always do our best. And not only do we do our best, we look for ways to keep getting better. So we're striving for something. And I'm going, man, am I teaching my kids to be perfectionists? I'm like, that's not what I'm trying to do. But it is a real side. It is the other side of the coin. And once it flips, you've created it. So high achievers. Being a high achiever is characterized by constantly striving for excellence and setting high standards for oneself. But it is not driven by the same intense fear of failure or self-criticism as a clinical perfectionist. Some traits of high achievers would include this. So motivation. High achievers are motivated to excel and reach their goals, but their self-worth is not solely tied to those achievements. Big difference. They can handle setbacks and failures without experiencing overwhelming distress. Big difference. We are definitely already in just number 2, or number 1, that was the first one, and in a situation where we are much healthier, aren't we? Number 2, adaptability. They can adjust their goals and standards in response to changing circumstances and setbacks. This adaptability helps them maintain a healthy balance between ambition and well-being. So those good terminologies there, well-being, ambitious. We want to be ambitious. Nothing wrong with that. Number 3, positive self-regard. While high achievers have high expectations, they are able to maintain a positive self-image when they fall short of their goals. Their view of setbacks as learning opportunities rather than reflections of self-worth. Really important. And last one, work-life balance. As high achievers tend to have a healthier work-life balance, understanding that rest and relaxation are essential to sustain success. In summary, clinical perfectionism is characterized by rigid, unattainable standards, and intense fear of failure, and significant emotional distress when those standards are not met. High achievers, on the other hand, aim for excellence, but can adapt their goals and maintain a healthier perspective on setbacks, fostering more balanced approach to life, more joy. They can do endeavors with less stress and anxiety. I think that's great. As I went through this, so I'm looking up definitions, I'm putting things together, and I'm going, we need to start with a place like, what are these two things? Because I think they are pulling on each other. So in other words, you might really want to achieve, but you've got fear of failure. Fear of failure, everywhere you read, is like the precursor to doing something you've never done. So how does that fit in? And sometimes I'm scared. So if you've come here tonight, like I mentioned in the beginning, and you go, I don't know where I'm at, and I got a lot of stress. I really want to achieve. I really want to do my best. But you're also on the same side. I have a lot of anxiousness. I have anxiety. I have some of those negative aspects. What we're going to talk about the rest of our time together are methods that are very common, nothing groundbreaking. But I think if we look at them from a perspective of checking, bringing perfectionism into balance, not letting high achieving get into the mode of perfectionism. And so that's where I'm going to really introduce the first concept to tonight in a balance. And that is the word of identity. And it mentioned this a little bit in the difference between high achievers and perfectionists. I always want to say procrastinator, perfectionist. It mentioned this just a little bit in the definition. Identity. When high achieving becomes our identity, we do cross the line in so many ways into perfectionist. Why? Because now we're trying to keep that going, where a high achiever is just simply doing it because they want to have the achievement. They want to have the thrill of doing it. They want to challenge themselves. They'll go out and they'll play super hard. They're super competitive on the basketball field or on the court in the morning at the gym, and then they lose, and they just walk away unfazed. Because it was all about the challenge, about pushing themselves, about going further than they went the day before, challenging themselves, buffering that limiting mindset that they might have, and they're pushing against that. But the perfectionist is destroyed by that. So that's what we don't want to do. We want to keep the identity from flipping to perfectionism. All right, so I'm going to switch here. Here we go. Addressing perfectionism is important for healthier lives. Like, we want to have a balanced life. We want to have good relationships. So here are some things, and I've got quite a few, probably more than we can get through tonight. I put all of them in the script so you can follow along. Now we're on to the script. The intro was not in the script. Now we're in the script. First, practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with some kindness you would offer a friend. Now I put a little book quote in there, Self-Compassion by Kristin Neff. What I don't see on number one that I adamantly disagree with and very much adamantly suggest is that if you know you're on the side of perfectionism, you probably need to go and get some external forgiveness before we have internal forgiveness. So, one of the recommendations is treat yourself with kindness. Well, if you've been in kind of a perfectionist mode, here's the realization. When nothing in my life is good enough, right? I have created kind of a cycle of dissatisfaction. That's what that would be. The relationships I have around me have become subjected to that. So if my kids come in and they're like, hey, Dad, what about this? Well, that's not going to be good enough, because in my head, nothing's good enough. So I'm perpetuating that cycle now externally into them. So close relationships, we can reject compassion. We can reject understanding. We can reject just basic kindness, legitimate help. Maybe it's not specifically the help we need, but we're more apt to disqualify it because of its quality to the crazy that's in the perfectionist brain. And those things play out in ripple effects into dissatisfied relationships, in the long run. If you're here and this is kind of new to you and you're like, I already got anxiety, I'm already feeling some of these things, let me tell you what the long game of that is people start putting up boundaries and less likely to help, less likely to participate, less likely to be all in, less likely to be like emotionally available. So you don't want that long game. You want to stay away from that game. You want to curtail identity to being a high achiever, having fun, doing my best, working hard, and then leaving the court and moving on to something else. That's the lifestyle we want. We don't want the identity to switch over to being that so that we go into perfectionism, because that's how it will play out. It plays out for all of us that way. Over the long run, we will push people away if we continue a perpetual cycle of perfectionism, and that's what you want to avoid. You really want to avoid that. I don't know who you are because I can't see you on my camera, but you definitely deserve better relationships than that. You deserve more joy in your life than that is going to get you. And I don't think anybody that really thinks through those things playing out wants what's down that road. Once you go, ooh, that's what's down there. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with that. So practice self-compassion, but first, go get forgiveness. Go own it, as we say. Go own it. And most of those people that you probably heard are probably really happy to help you with reeling in perfectionism to being a more balanced high achiever, a realistic high achiever. All right, number 2, set realistic goals. For the perfectionist, I don't know every perfectionist in the world. I know my own brain. And when I latch onto something, I can see this end vision of what I want, okay? And you're going to laugh, but it's simple as setting up, and I'm looking at my screen now. That's where I'm looking. When I'm looking at my overlays and my YouTube, there were things I didn't get done that I wanted to get done on that, and it bothers me. But I can't, in this, I couldn't not show up tonight and be here for that. And when I'm in perfectionist mode, I wouldn't go live for 6 months until everything was exactly right and I measured it. See, there's a big difference. Big difference. So we want to break down tasks into smaller, manageable tasks. And this is just look up, just Google time management, the 4 quadrants, urgent, important, not important. That is a great book on setting kind of some time frames. It is a great book for managing importance of tasks. It's a great place to start. If you've never done any time management, I think that's probably the best place to start on managing tasks. So through that, if you're a perfectionist and somebody says to you, we're just on social media, so I'm going to pick on that. Well, you need to set up your Instagram. We automatically think, well, I got to have the perfect picture. I got to have the perfect outfit. I got to have what camera am I going to use? What's my backdrop going to be? Well, I really am a summer and it's fall, so that's not going to work. So I can't get my profile picture till next July, but it'll be too hot. I'll probably be kind of sweaty. So probably need to do a June, but the angle of sun in June probably would reflect off my forehead funny. So I might be thinking end of July. So you can see, like, that is literally how a perfectionist brain goes. Maybe you're not a perfectionist. Maybe you use perfectionism to stall, and you don't want to be there either. So either way, setting realistic goals helps you accomplish both, avoid both bad behaviors. Breaking down smaller tasks, manageable steps would be get an Instagram account, post your picture, leave it private, post a picture, put your name in there, put a bio in there. What is your bio going to be? What's your niche going to be? What are your avatars? Who are you talking to? That's like 3 weeks worth of just little daily jabs at completing the task. Just little jabs. You're working through a mountain of work. You're just doing it one little jab at a time. That is what helps a perfectionist not get so far ahead of themselves that they're allowed, and I think I said this in the reel, I call it theatrics. The theatrics of a perfectionist will just blow something so far out of the water as far as realistically possible. A, people don't want to join and don't want to help because they can't comprehend it. B, you can't afford to do it. And C, there's no way you'll ever have enough skills and knowledge and degrees to ever reach that goal. It's impossible. That's just what they do. So setting smaller goals will help you reduce the pressure of perfectionism. If you write in your bio, you only got like 10 or 15 minutes to work on it, set that time limit, and then be done and put it away. That's a great place to start. Number 3, challenge negative thoughts. Now, this is a big deal. We need to challenge our thoughts, and here is why. Identify and challenge irrational thoughts that lead to perfectionism. This comes from the book Feeling Good, The New Mood Therapy by David Burns. Okay, it's just an excerpt. Don't need to read the whole book, but here is the quote from there that is so important. Challenge irrational thoughts. I think as a perfectionist, once you realize it's selfish, and once B, or 2, you realize you owe apologies, 3 is recognizing that it is irrational. Perfectionism is irrational. It is theatrics. Use those words. I'm being theatrical. I'm being irrational. You're saying it to yourself in a way that promotes you thinking, hey, guess what? That's not going to work out. You're already, how would I say, containing it. You're giving it boundaries, and you're saying, no, we're going to be high achieving. We're going to get a bunch of stuff done, but we're not going to let it out of the box. It's a great way. Number 4, embrace mistakes. Now, the perfectionist, this is difficult. View mistakes as opportunities for growth and learning. Remember, almost all of these, I don't know if I said it, but just take a mental note. A lot of these are driving a perfectionist back to the other side of the coin where you're high performers. High performers do this naturally, remember? They view mistakes as opportunities for growth and learning. This is really, really important. I'm in my brain, I'm thinking about how many books I've read, how many reels, or how many videos, or how many of those things I've seen where people say this exact same thing, and there's a reason they say it over and over and over. My favorite one is a Kobe Bryant reel, and this interviewer goes, there's 2 types of players. He's like, I'm neither. I'm the one that comes into a game, and I don't attach myself to win or losing. I attach myself to the growth that I'm going to have during that game, and then I don't care which way the game goes. Right? Because he was so focused on the opportunity for growth. And if you can frame your mind, perfectionists, even high achievers, if you can frame your mind, hone in your mind to where you're just looking for opportunities of growth and learning, you're going to avoid all the bad, the negative of perfectionism. All right, 5, practice mindfulness. I would say that this one's really important, okay? Book Miracle Mindfulness. We need to, in our own way, challenge, practice mindfulness, stay present and non-judgmental, reduce rumination. So what we want to do is we want to set aside time where we do not allow our brains to run wild. And that takes a lot of focus. And what has helped me more than anything is like step number 2, where it says do small tasks. I have found over the last 3 or 4 weeks that if I can just get a hit of a fast, quick task, I will keep me from spiraling into perfectionism because I immediately get active. I immediately achieve something. I check something off my list. It's completely insignificant. It doesn't matter. It's just something quick, right? And boom, it doesn't allow me to spin into perfectionist mode because I just got something done. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here to achieve. I'm here to do my best. I'm here to work on this and get better. And I don't know what it is. For me, that is a driving force, is to stay present, non-judgmental, and reduce the time rumination. We don't use that word very much anymore. A lament, overthink, that'd be a street term, overthinking it, about past and future outcomes. So what happens is we start to get out of the moment. We start thinking too far back into mistakes and too far forward into the impossible, and poof, our day's gone. It's over. Number 6, limit our rumination. So we talked about reducing it. Now we're going to limit it. It is different because now we're going to set aside time, a specific time to reflect on our worries, because all of us have worries. So rather than allowing it an entire day, we're going to condense it down, and we're going to say, this is what I'm going to plan for this. And in this planning phase, that's when I'm gonna stress out about it, and that's when I'm gonna think about it, but then I'm gonna put it away. You're just reeling it in. Like, oh my goodness, it is so helpful for anxiety. It is so helpful for feelings of failure, getting spiraled out of control. I think that was the name of one of the reels, was chill out or spin out. It came from this. We either chill out and stay present. We either chill out and set aside a specific time to reflect on worries and concerns and hurdles rather than all day. Huge, absolutely huge. Just if you can practice one thing in getting perfectionism. I wanted to say it again. I wanted to say procrastination. I don't even have a show on procrastination yet. That's tomorrow. If you can contain the perfectionism, it just doesn't have as much control on you. You just kind of like break the bondage of it. 7, celebrate progress. It is important to focus on the effort and the progress you've made rather than seeking perfection. For me, this plays out like in social media. There's always something I wish I could have done better. I post it, and then the words aren't exactly where they're supposed to be. And then I have this idea of what my feed on Instagram was supposed to look like, but now it doesn't look like that because they kind of jot around. It doesn't matter. They're looking better. They look so much better than the first week. Who cares? It is a specific effort. You have to work on celebrating progress. You have to roll up your sleeves and you have to celebrate it. Okay? You have to say it's good enough. And that's really important. Anxiety, overwhelmed, all those things can come to a halt with just number 7, celebrating progress. You failed a final. I don't know. You didn't get in. You didn't finish as high as you needed to. I mean, I can think of all kinds of perfectionist things at college because our oldest son's in college. But those things, then they stay with you. I think that would be the hardest thing about college age, or in the college age, one of the hardest things would be that you get a bad grade in September, man, you've got to ride that out to the end of the semester. Man, you've got to limit the rumination. You got to practice number 5, staying present, because you can't go backwards and be too judgmental and then give up. Wow, that is tough stuff. That is tough stuff. So roll up your sleeves and practice celebrating progress. You have to practice it. It's going to feel pointless the first time you do it, but it will feel good once you do it because it'll all be okay. Number 8. Perfectionist journal, thinking journal. Keep a journal to track your perfectionist thoughts and challenge them over time. Everybody's brain works different, and everybody learns different. Everybody processes different. I would be willing to bet, because I hate writing, that it wouldn't take very many minutes of writing out all of the things that aren't going to be good enough before I'd be willing just to accept them not good enough to not have to write. And I think there is a component of this, but there's also a writing component that when we write, we start to let things out. And we're going to get to some of that here at the end. But the writing is a really important. The journaling part is to track your perfectionist thoughts and challenge them over time. Write down things that you're disappointed about. Write down failures. I even started writing down things that I think won't work, so that I'm starting to get fidgety because I don't even like talking about it. I started writing down things that I thought wouldn't work. And guess what? I started challenging myself to prove myself wrong. See, it's easy when you're a perfectionist to make the goal so high that you prove yourself right. It is another thing to start challenging yourself by saying, oh, this wasn't going to be good enough. This wasn't going to work. Going to work on that specific task and then having it work despite you not being able to do it perfect. And it really helps, because suddenly the credibility of my perfectionism just started to go downhill. Like, it doesn't have the track record I can trust it. That's a big deal. I can't run a business that way. Can't write content that way. Can't go home and interact with the family that way, can you? No, absolutely not. You diminish its value by exposing the inaccuracy. And when it's so theatrical and it's so irrational, there's no way it's accurate. It's impossible. It's impossible to be that extreme and be accurate. Okay. Imperfection challenges. Number 10, intentionally engage in task where perfection isn't the goal to desensitize yourself to imperfections. I would say for anybody that was not clinically a perfectionist, that's a waste of time. I would think you could sum that one up just by saying getting over yourself. Just got to get over yourself. Your little perfectionist tissies are not that important. They have caused pain. They've caused you pain. You've missed out on life. Go for joy and skip this one. If you're clinically diagnosed, I absolutely think this is a great thing to do and desensitize yourself. It depends on how far you've gone down that road and how big that identity has become to start chipping away at it, to start proving it inaccurate, to start proving that you are not subject to it. You are not subservient to it. Oh my goodness. Stay with me. Oh. My audio card. Not my audio card. Sorry, my Elgato freezes. Imperfect challenges. I would skip that. Get over yourself. Stop making a banner that you just wave, like, look at me, I'm a perfectionist, and making everyone else jump every time you want something. Do that. Skip that and just do that. Time management. Allocate specific time slots for tasks. Prevent overworking on details. Time frames for tasks are magical for the perfectionist. They're magical. Okay? I know you probably don't believe me because at the time you're thinking, but what about those famous words? But what about this? I teach my kids when they play soccer. I always coach my kids. It never gets better with time. Dribble pass, dribble shoot. The more you overthink a situation live in a soccer game, the worse it gets. The worse it gets, not worst. The worse it gets. I tell them all the time, it doesn't get better with time. Head up, make the pass, take the shot, and move on. Get to open space. Develop the play. And it is very much like I've never even thought about taking that same advice myself until this little project on perfectionism showed up in my life. It doesn't get better with time. Set a time frame and get it done. Yes, it could be better if you had more time, but if you're a perfectionist and you spin out on projects anyway, there's a really good chance that even if you gave yourself an extra 2 or 3 days, you wouldn't get to it in that extra time. I would wager that because we're going to get sucked into other projects and having to perform on those, and we won't ever get back to it. So time, set a time, it's good enough, boom, done. An example of that for me this week was I just had to put a bio up on YouTube. Did not have time to run it through Word and really do a bunch of grammar stuff on it. I needed to execute that and put it up. For me, the whole world can see this bio that is not done. It's not correct. It's not exactly articulated the way I want. I know it's not the end result. I can tell you that the bio is the direction I'm going. That's good enough for right now. It's good enough for Thursday night, August 31st. It's good enough. That was a wonderful thing because it's done. It's way better than it was because there's something in there. Time management. 12, prioritize self-care, engage in activities that bring you joy and relaxation. Not being so uptight as a perfectionist will give you joy and relaxation. So prioritize self-care, i.e. not being a perfectionist. Then you can go engage in activities that bring you joy and relaxation because you don't have to be in control of them. Nice. That was easy. 13, focus on process, not just results. Find joy in the journey rather than solely on the outcome. 14, create a supportive environment around yourself. 15, if none of this works and it's clinical, get professional help. Consider seeking therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, acceptance and commit therapy, ACT. Books for further reading. If you're a perfectionist, just stop. Knowing and being an expert on perfectionism is just another act of perfectionism, but if you still can't help yourself, books for further reading, Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown, Perfectionism, a Relational Approach to Conceptualization, Assessment, and Treatment by Hewitt, and Overcoming Perfectionism, a Self-Help Guide by Roz Sheffrin and Sarah Egan. Remember, addressing perfectionism is a gradual process. It's important to be patient with yourself and celebrate small steps and take toward growth and change. If your perfectionism is causing significant distress, seek professional help. Strongly recommended. Now, let's have some fun. Script is over. That was fun. But let's dive into the meat of why we're here. You want to avoid pain. Maybe you've come here tonight and you know the pain you've caused. It's time to stop. It is time to get motivated on fixing those things and stop having identity with those things. Some of you are going to come here tonight. I shouldn't say tonight because in YouTube there is no day or night. Some of you are going to find this video. There you go. I'm learning. See, it's good enough. Some of you are going to find this video and you're going to be in a slightly different situation. You're going to be in the situation where this identity has been perpetuated on you by others. Childhood traumas, perfectionist parents, narcissistic parents. There are things that literally can push you into a hyperachieving, perfectionist mindset of making everybody else happy, worrying about everybody else first, that will perpetuate this. Some of you are going to have to dig deeper, and it's going to take longer to break those cycles. But you can overdo it. You can actually overcome it. You can do anything you put your mind to. You can, if the pain is great enough today, you can take these 15 steps. You can take the first one and start apologizing. I think because reconciliation is the fastest way to personal growth. If you could reconcile, I say that because everybody I know that has non-reconciliation in their life, their entire life's a train wreck. So I just put two and two together on that. I like simple math. It makes life easier. But you might be coming here, finding this video and going, I'd like to overcome perfectionism. You could take the first step, forgiveness, take small steps into your task list, and you can make a change starting tomorrow that would alleviate the anxiety, the stress, and all of that. It would flip the coin from perfectionism back to high achieving. It would take the identity out of it. And instantly, starting tomorrow, you can have success in overcoming perfectionism. Anybody could do that. I believe you could do it. I accidentally started down this path, had no idea this is where I was going to lead to. I had no idea what a huge part of my personal journey and story perfectionism would ever become. Had no idea. Had no idea I'd be so passionate about it. One step from this list of 15 that's in the notes, it's in the text underneath the video. You can look at it. It's right there. You can pick one of those tomorrow and start overcoming it. If you can say I've switched the coin, James. I've gone from being a high achiever. I love to do. I'm with you. I love to work. I'm with you. My hobbies work. I'm with you. I love pushing myself. I love working harder. I love the detail of getting better. I love it. But if it has become an identity for you and you're paying a penalty for it, man, joy is so much better. Joy is so much longer lasting, I guarantee you, than all those other things. I guarantee you joy in your life will last longer. The joy of not being perfectionist will last longer in your life than the satisfaction from that task that you're being a perfectionist in and driving people away. Guaranteed. Without any question. Yes, I'm completely off the script, and I'm hoping I stay on task for 15 minutes. It won't happen. It just won't happen. Who knows? Just stay, get some popcorn, maybe get some coffee. Who knows what I'm going to say. But I think you should start tomorrow. There's no reason you can't start tomorrow. Absolutely, just do it. Man, joy is so much a better way to live. If you're coming here and you've been evaluating, hey, maybe this is me, maybe I'm a perfectionist. People tell you you're a perfectionist, and then suddenly it becomes an identity. Sometimes you pick up the identity. I know that there are identities I picked up at 15, 16, 18, 20, 25 years old that absolutely had nothing to do with my personality and absolutely were not the way I was wired, but I picked them up. Didn't just somebody just said, "Oh, you're a perfectionist," and boom, nobody ever told me that. But if somebody just says, "Hey, well, you're just a perfectionist," and you go, "Oh," there's like a little bit of affirmation maybe is just tied to it, and you just pick it up. Boop. Okay, I'm a perfectionist, and suddenly then you're in the identity phase. You didn't even mean to get there. It happens. Happens to all of us. Oh, you're always grumpy. RBF. I mean, oh yeah, I always have an RBF, and suddenly you don't even try to smile. Like, that is literally human nature. There are so many people that I think that will find this video on perfectionism, overcoming it, that'll be here because of external situations, external influxes of data. I ran out of the words to say. What is it? Influence, external influence, completely by accident. Ended up being a perfectionist, took it to the identity side of the coin because they got that little sniff of affirmation, and suddenly now they're paying the penalty and paying the price. You don't have to do that. People are wrong about you all the time. That you just happened to be there one day when they were wrong about you and to your face, and you accidentally picked it up because you thought it was a good thing to pick up, and you picked it up. We all do it. Absolutely. I've done it. I've done it with a lot of things. Just picked it up. It's overcomable. The stress in your life, the anxiety that perfectionism causes is not worth the value of any project you're working on. And it certainly isn't worth the long-term impacts that perfectionism plays. None of us want to have to deal with that. So, the encouraging side is you can overcome it. You don't need to. You got 15 steps. All 15 of those, all the way down to journaling. You even got a fake one in there about slowly stepping into the pool of it's okay when we already shortened it down and just get over yourself. Absolutely. Absolutely. At The Belief Hero, this is one of the most important things. This is the reason that I wanted to start the channel. This type of content, this long form, is absolutely the reason I wanted to start The Belief Hero and start this channel. And there are dialogues with people that I cannot wait to have. There's somebody out there that's going to watch this, find this video, or send it to somebody that they know that needs it, and they're going to hear something that sets them free from bondage in their life that maybe they didn't put there themselves, maybe they accidentally stumbled on, maybe they just accidentally on a whim put that on, that identity on, and they're paying a penalty of it. Maybe there's a younger person out there that's starting to feel the anxiety and the pressure of perfectionism and some of its consequences, and they find this video and they go, oh my goodness, I don't want to go down that path. I'm already going down that path. I'm crazy. Like I'm psycho control freak. Yeah, you are. That's not going to work out well. And here's somebody say, don't go down that path, change their life. Man, that is good stuff. So this week, Kessinger, perfection is not or not. This spoke to me tonight. Thank you, James. This is Chelsea. Chelsea's watching? Really? Chelsea, I'm going to cry. You're the first person to watch and comment at the same time. It's like you're a bundler. Enjoying the art and appreciation for what I have now, even if it's not the best or as good as it could be. I think I can double click. Now we're going to go. Can I click it? Can I bring it on? I know I can. Oh, look at. Ooh, I put it on the screen. This is great, Chelsea. Perfectionist or not, this spoke to me. Thank you, James. This is Chelsea. Enjoying the art and appreciation for what I have now, even if it's not the best or as good as it could be. Oh, man, Chelsea, that is so well said. That is so well said. We do not need to give up. What do we do not need to give up? We do not need to give up the excitement and the joy of today for something that's never going to happen. That is really well said. Thank you. Thank you for saying something. I got to drag a comment onto my screen. That made my night. Whew. That was so much fun. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to find it for you. Hold on. I'm going to find it for you. Oh, what was it? Oh, it was in a reel this week. I forgot what it was. Sorry, brain fade. I rabbited on you. I squirreled on you. I'm sorry. Oh, you said it. What was it? I have even not the best. Yeah. The joy of today. Don't sacrifice the joy of today for the theatrics of perfectionism. It's all a false. It's all a fallacy. It's fake. None of it's real. None of it's real. And you're extremely talented. She said, thank you for, you're welcome. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. You made my day. You made my live. You made my live. It would have been great for some accent if I was a good actor. Thank you. Thank you for the encouragement. You know, I started a podcast in 2012, and I did 50, 60 episodes, and I just gave up. I was terrified. I convinced myself that I should never, ever do it. And I convinced myself that all the stuff I wanted to talk about was dumb. And I don't know. Kara's like, you've always wanted a podcast. You've always wanted to do it. I'm like, yeah, I just keep telling myself I'm dumb. And I started the Belief Hero. And it was the first time I went, no, I really want to have a chance to have that voice. And you saying that is just a huge, huge bear hug. So thank you. I'll take the bear hug. Thank you, Chelsea. So with that, we are dialed in on perfectionism. And you know what we're going to talk about next week? I think that ties into perfectionism. We talked about it a little bit. We've got perfectionist on one side of the coin, and then we've got the high achiever on the other side of the coin, which is great. That's the high achiever side of us. That's the healthy side of us. That's the person that gets it done. I like that guy. Perfectionist guy, nobody else likes that guy. And I think going into next week, we got like just a couple minutes left. We are definitely going to power into alter egos next week. Alter egos, I think, is a powerful path to go down in digesting how we see ourselves, how we react to things. We talked about a little bit tonight with perfectionism. When we let something become an identity, it's like this little thing, like we're playing catch with it, and we're flirting with this idea, like, oh, I'm a perfectionist. And somehow that thing grows, and then it chases us. And that's when it gets really toxic and scary. Alter egos is like a whole discussion on that. And I think next week, I was going to go into momentum. I might hit momentum a little bit, but alter egos, we're going to go into alter egos next week because there's a lot of freedom in understanding alter egos. And there's a book on it that we're going to cover quite a bit on. I'll put that in the links. And I'll put it in a posting on Instagram and on the feed for the YouTube channel, both, as I post the content. But we're going to talk about alter egos next week. It is a really great topic to dive into in navigating the line of what is the performance, what is the real me, and how they're not the same person. They don't have to be, but staying connected with the real person. I think that's going to be a great conversation that we have next week. Alter egos. That'll be fun. And with that, I think we'll end a little bit early. Thank you for support. You know, the only disappointing thing I would say about the YouTube channel at this point is I don't know the 20 people that have subscribed. Like I'm such an in-person person. I'm such an in-person person. It's a lot of people inside my head that I just revealed that I had. But it's hard to like not know those people on Instagram. You get to see their face. Like there's no faceless subscribers or followers on Instagram. And that's the only downside to YouTube is that when somebody subscribes, I can't send them a message and say, hey, thanks. So this is that. Hey, thanks. Thanks for taking the time. Chelsea, Tim, thanks for just taking 2 minutes to be here and listen and support. I super appreciate that. And Belief Hero family, We will see you on the next Be Bold Hour, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And in our perfectionist note, just to let you know the upcoming events, we will be launching. I have 3 of the first podcast, the Hero Hours, Belief Hero Hours, isn't that cute? The Hero Hours, which is a podcast built around interviews from different heroes, belief heroes that I have had, heroes that I've seen out in the real world who have just a really good emotional awareness, emotional self-control, the alter ego control, all that stuff that I think stand out as just exceptional heroes for other people. So it's an interview podcast. This was always intended to launch with the Belief Hero. The lives were just the way to get started and start the conversation and get the trajectory and really talk about stuff I want to talk about. But the podcast I'm super excited about. And Marty Frederick is committed to one. He's an awesome leader. Laura Hostetler is another one. And then I have a couple more that I'm super excited about. So that will be launching on Tuesdays. And the website will be done. Hopefully for the next live, I will post on that. Just a little filtering up what's coming, because that's what we get to do in the lives that you don't get to do in the podcast. The website is almost done, where my notes will be posted there in long form on the website. One of the downsides to YouTube is that I can't really get all the content it just needs to be in long form. It doesn't have to be a project. It doesn't have to be in that stuff. It doesn't have to be a course. But it needs to be there where you can kind of go through it and decipher it yourself. Like, the whole point of this is to dive in and do thought training, stretch the way we think, stretch and work out and get the buff in how we think about our mindset and our lives, because the impact is so great in our relationships and the people around us. It is so immense, the reward, that we can't not stretch out for that game. So that's coming. It is almost done. And then I'll backload that so that you guys can follow me and by the name, by the topic. And until then, we are just using playlists on YouTube as a way to capture all the short form and the long form around a single content, because you can't do that on Instagram. So what Instagram can't do, we can drive to YouTube and you can say, hey, I saw this post on Instagram. Come over to YouTube, find the playlist on reinvention, and then all the shorts are there and the long form's there. And then you go to the website and you can get the download and you can go through it on yourself. I think that's a cool way to do it. So that's the way we're going to do it. And Discord is there for community, which, oh no. Froze. Stay with me. Don't leave. I'm back. No. Yes, that was an Eminem quote. That was well-timed, maybe. I don't know if the timing was exactly right. The cadence was good. So, and for everybody that's been following along from the beginning, we have an outro scene. Are you ready for this? Outro scene in now. Oh, man, I got an outro scene. This is week 6, and every week I've had to replay. The intro scene is my outro scene, and every week I get to the end of the live, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot it. I forgot the outro scene. So we got an outro scene. Let me read it to you. Thank you. Thank you for joining the Be Bold Hour. Yes, that is exactly what that says. Share with someone who needs this. You know, that is such a big... Your Discord link isn't working? What? You could update it with a new one. Yay for the outro scene. Thank you, Chelsea. I will fix that. So one of the cool things about Discord is like post-show get-togethers and huddles afterwards. I'm super excited about that. Thank you very much. Share with somebody who needs this, somebody you think could benefit from this. That is more important to me than a like. That is more important to me than a follow. Those ripple effects in our lives are the greatest value of anything we do. So any shares would be absolutely awesome. Have no idea what that means as far as the algorithm gods that we sacrifice to each day on YouTube. And we'll see you next week at 8 p.m. for the Be Bold Hour. We'll see you daily on Instagram. And That's it. Hey, Twitter or Threads? Is that a real conversation yet? Twitter or Threads? Twitter or Threads? You know what's I can't get over is how fast I can go to Threads and just put all my little musings in there, but then Twitter feels like I'm going somewhere else. Like one extra thing I have to do. Like I can't decide. Threads is easy. Threads is fast. Threads are like the thoughts through the day. I don't know why it's easier to go there, but then Twitter's like better somehow, but not as better as the new better. I don't know. We'll be on both. How's that? Book club coming to Twitter Spaces, so you can listen to it at the gym. You don't have to have your face on. How cool will that be? 2 weeks. Book club starts. See you guys next week.